Very well. Oh, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
So should we start again? Or
Yeah, start again. You mentioned something about duty you read today in the third chapter of Gita.
oh yeah, I guess Bhagavad Gita is all about duty, isn't it? Like I was just reading while we were waiting there. Arjuna, in the beginning of the second chapter, he says, "I'm confused what my duty is."
Mm.
So like, I'm a soul surrendered to you. Like, tell me what my duty is. I'm pretty sure that for a lot of people that aren't necessarily in like a brahmachari ashram situation, it can be confusing what your actual duty is. Like earlier, I was reading in the third chapter of Gita about what Prabhupada was mentioning in the purport that you have a material duty and a spiritual duty. And material duty is to do with like your psychophysical nature, your kind of your material condition, and then your spiritual duty comes from the spiritual master. But I guess it's like sometimes it can be a bit bewildering about, okay, what should I actually be doing with my time? Like, how should I be investing my time here? Do you know what I mean?
Well, for people who are already devotees, they want to be devotees, then their main duty is to chant Hare Krishna and read some Krishna do hearing and chanting with their day. So that's one spiritual duty out of the way. Let's say they do that for 2 or 3 hours in a day, or an hour in the morning or an hour in the evening. They fit it in somewhere. 2 hours is a kind of minimum. But if you're busy, especially if you've got baby or young children, etc., you got to do a minimum. That's your first prime duty if you want to be a devotee and make progress. So that's not really an issue, is it? No.
Yeah, no, it's not.
So that's one thing. That's a simple thing out of the way. So if people get confused, I tell you why they get confused is because they have one template, and that is the temple and the brahmacharis. But the grihastas, they have millions of duties, and the brahmacharis really only have one duty, and that's to themselves, to stay alert and awake and ready for action, and serve whatever the temple need them to do for the whole day. And but a grihasta, or someone, let's say someone who's not married and he's just living on his own or her own. What do they do all day? They got to pay the rent. They got to make money. It's quite simple. The material duties, spiritual duties. What is the actual confusion? Is that they think they have to be like a high standard of the temple and their home life. Is that right? Is that a
I guess
confusion?
I think one confusion could be like balancing the two duties, because sometimes, say you're holding down a full-time job, that takes a lot of your energy.
Hmm.
And you're tired, and it makes the sadhana harder. So it's like, should I be doing this as my duty, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's getting in the way of the spiritual side of things. So.
Yeah, the whole society we live in is doesn't have any time in it for spiritual life. Everyone's exhausted, making money, getting to work and back. So it's very, very difficult. And that's why sometimes devotees prefer to be self-employed or to have a smaller job and live a more humble life with less money, but just have a job. I mean, devotees I know, they don't. A lot of devotees don't have jobs. They're self-employed. And then the other type of devotees are career devotees that go to the banking, or they become lawyers or pharmacists or accountants or IT managers. That's also a big problem. But generally, the problem is not really the time. It's what's in your head. It's what's in your head. If your head's cloudy with ambition and desire and material progress, then you can't really do quality sadhana. That's what Queen Kunti says. If you're trying to improve yourself in this material world and you're really passionate for it and you're really intensely desiring, then you can't chant very nicely. It's not really what you do that's the problem. It's what's in your head, where your consciousness is. Just like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was a high court judge, but he was into very high standard of practicing pure devotion, chanting and hearing and writing. Obviously he's extremely advanced, or he's a Nicha Siddha, but he was a high court judge. So that didn't get in. He wrote hundreds of books and did loads of sadhana. So his job didn't get in the way.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing correctly, what you're saying is like our attachment to the results of our material duty is what gets in the way of our spiritual life, because that attachment kind of takes over the mind and it becomes the focus.
That's right. So if we are like that, and then we have to apply ourselves more to understanding the philosophy, studying, and that. So that's one side. The other side is if you haven't got any job or money and you're struggling just to pay the bills and stuff, and you're not really anxious for material improvement, you just want a basic life, due to the struggle. The society is so intense. We're on housing benefit, we're on child benefit, just to be able to eat and pay the bills, right? So that's a different type of situation. And you become despondent, or you feel negative because of that pressure of life and the misery of modern society. So that's another thing to overcome. And the same thing happens. You've got to become strong spiritually to be able to stay positive. And you can say, oh, well, that's easy for you, Adi Guru. You've got a good business, got some money. But I went through 10 years of struggling to pay the bills. So I know what it's like. And I know how difficult it is to be Krishna conscious and go through that. But you got to fight. You have to fight and be positive. You can't blame the devotees or blame Krishna. You've got to say, this is the way the world is now, and I've got to be Krishna. Like Arjuna, he had to fight in the end. He really didn't want to. So we have to fight, and we have to fight by being positive and reading Prabhupada's books and praying to Krishna and not getting too enamored. If we do have a little success, stick to the simple things, chanting, reading. It's so simple, actually, the process. But you've just got to apply yourself, and when your consciousness is good, then you can handle anything, negative and positive.
It seems that knowledge is the thing that fosters detachment, isn't it? So if you're trying to cultivate knowledge and trying to read and actually hear the philosophy, then the byproduct of that is you naturally become detached from the material side of things. And it seems to be a theme that's coming up a lot recently for me, is the more you focus on Krishna consciousness and your hearing and chanting and making that quality, then the material energy kind of parts for you, and it you kind of understand how to interface with the material energy in a way that's not going to get you mucky and covered and gross.
That's excellent realization. Yeah, that sounds perfect.
But I was wondering, because you set up this incense business, and you spent 10 years kind of building it and fighting for
success. Yeah.
Did you find that 10 years was it was a purifying experience and helped you come closer to Krishna, or do you feel like it was kind of in the way of your Krishna consciousness, but now you're past it, you can focus on Krishna consciousness again, if you get what I'm saying?
Well, it comes back to duty. If you think, like I had a wife and a young baby, and, obviously he grew up in them 10 years to 10 years old, let's say. So, I mean, I heard one time that this devotee said that running a family and being Krishna conscious is like running an empire. For a materialist, all he has to do is get the money in the door, then he can open his can of beer or go for his champagne and caviar. And, but with the devotee, they've got to get the child slightly Krishna conscious and, be Krishna conscious example. And, it's quite hard in today's society to do that. And so I found that it was a struggle, and there was difficulties and a lot of failures, but it was a good fight, and there was some successes, as well. Like we go to India, go to visit Vrindavan, have a wonderful experience as a family. Yeah. And I mean, you just got to fight through it. There's no easy way, and get time to go to the temple, sometimes the festivals, or go to a kirtan, and the guru, you meet your guru and have a good experience, or, there's all sorts of successes. Because, like, if you give up and just use your money for material holidays instead of using the money to go on Krishna conscious trips, then that's another thing. Is that making sense?
Yeah. So
I had this idea that extra money you use to go on a Krishna conscious holiday. You go to visit the temple in Italy when there's a festival on. They have a festival and it's for young grihastas, or you go to Mayapur, young grihastas with children. See, when you've got children, you need to have holidays. It's so important to get out away from the house. So if you give up and just go on material holidays, that was not as good as for your consciousness as going on a Krishna conscious holiday. See what I mean? It's a small thing, but it's actually a big thing, because it actually really affects your consciousness.
Yeah.
And you reap the rewards later on in life. Your children reap the rewards later on in life, rather than just giving up. Oh, it's too difficult. I can't face the devotees because I'm stuck in this environment. Therefore, I kind of give up, and I'll just do the very minimum. So anyway, there are a few things. Go on. Sorry.
I guess one thing as well is like because when you're in a brahmachari ashram, all of your decisions get made for you. It's like, okay, you're going here on Sankirtan today. Oh, ice cream man. You're going here on Sankirtan today. You're doing this service. You have any questions, you just ask and they tell you what to do,
Yeah.
But when you leave the ashram, then I guess you're in a position where you have to start making decisions yourself. And sometimes that can be quite bewildering. You could be in the position of Arjuna, like, I'm bewildered. What is my duty here? What should I be doing with my time? How do I make the right decisions? Keeping Krishna in the center. I don't know if you had any wisdom on making the right decisions.
Yeah, it's good to have a grihasta who's been a bit older than you and been through some things, and he's in good consciousness, and you can ask them, their friends, some not too far ahead of you, maybe 5 years ahead of you, or and also you see, ashram life is a holiday from the material realm. It's a holiday from Maya. It's just fun. Or as long as you can get up in the morning and just go to the morning program and get out on the books, it's just a nice life. But you've got to pay the bills and think all these things. Suddenly, when you're in the grihastha life, it's really difficult. So if you just stick to the simple thing, getting out of bed and chanting your rounds, then you'll be safe. And have friends, have close friends who you can say, look, I watched the football last night and I'm feeling a bit down, or, just simple, close friends that you can talk to without without fear that they're going to judge you.
Yeah, I guess continue to, because that's one of the loving exchanges, to reveal your mind.
Exactly.
Because I know that it can be a struggle if you feel like you're falling short of a certain standard that your mind has, which might not even be so bad, but your mind makes it a big thing. If you don't reveal it, then it festers and you start beating yourself up, and then you start losing confidence, and you can easily slip away.
Got to stay positive, stay a devotee. It's a long, long journey. You've got to pace yourself. Got to do your material duty nicely and keep your spiritual duty, and if everything goes wrong, then that's your karma. But you don't give up your spiritual duty.
Yeah, and I guess making mistakes is okay as well.
Yeah,
Like Queen Kunti prays, "Let there be calamities." So I guess if you do mess up, it's a good chance to kind of go into your spiritual life more potentially.
yeah.
Into the japa.
It's a deep process, you know. It's much
Mm.
deeper than we think in terms of failures and mistakes. Krishna Prabhupada said, failures are the pillar of success, right?
Yeah,
But we learn from our mistakes and go forward. Because the goal is to become absorbed in Krishna and detached from the material world. So if we keep the goal in mind, you know, like these, if you read the 11th canto, Krishna's telling Uddhava about absorption in him as the ultimate goal. And he says one verse that if the devotee managed to control his mind, absorb himself in me, that's great. And if he fails to do that, that's also what's the problem exactly, you know, because he's a devotee. It's an interesting verse. I just read it the other day. It's not exactly what it says, but almost. So it's basically saying that failure for a devotee is nothing to get tied up about. He immediately again start his devotion to Krishna immediately.
And I guess also looking to see how Krishna is teaching us from our failures, and because you hear that in the CC that like the principal item of surrender is accepting Krishna as your guardian. So if something doesn't go well, like you thought it might go well, you can see that Krishna has put you in that position for you to learn. You know, if you're always seeking Krishna every day in every situation, was it Yamam Pasyati Sarvatra? One who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I'm never lost and he's never lost to me. This verse is so like, I guess back to your like time setting up the business and the struggles. Did you have like a sense of like Krishna's guiding you through that kind
Yeah,
of?
that's a really good question because several times I've realized that Krishna helped me so much, you know, and it was just like, it was amazing, you know, that I fulfilled, you know, because in a certain way you have material desires to be able to have money for your family and your material life, to get things that you like and do what you want and serve Krishna in your own way, in a sense, you know, what, like say you were a master carpenter and your desire was that you could build some of the final touches to the altar in Thai, what's Thai Krishna?
T Krishna.
Krishna, right? So, but you weren't quite being chosen and this and that. And so then you studied really hard your carpentry, and then they saw that you were good and they chose you, and you got to do the carpentry for this part of the interior, whatever, right? Just for example. So you fulfill that desire you had to dovetail your talent, your abilities in Krishna's service. So this is karma yoga. So karma bhakti yoga, right? Yoga, bhakti yoga includes karma yoga, jnana yoga, etc. So that's just one example. I mean, it's a silly example, but it's a good example. Means not silly, but simple example, I mean to say. So in my life, I've been able to achieve that. What I wanted to do for Krishna, have the money to pay for it, have the resources I needed to do it. You know, like I like traveling. I have a vehicle. I can go take the Sankirtan devotees in the vehicle. It's an estate. I can put loads of stuff in it. I've been all over France with the Sankirtan devotees, using my vehicle, my money for the petrol, etc. You see, so it's type of dovetailing your desires. So I seen that Krishna fulfilled all my desires in that way, and he helped me definitely. And he says, Prabhupada says that Krishna helps materially and spiritually his devotees. It's not only spiritually he's going to be your guardian angel, but he's going to make arrangements for you materially as well. Devotees don't go hungry. Prabhupada said there was the famine in Bengal when he was young, in the 40s. He said all the Vaishnavas he knew in Calcutta, they didn't go hungry.
Yeah. Krishna looks after his own.
See, materially and spiritually.
And I wondered, because you had, I don't know how long you spent in the ashram. Was it
7 years?
7 years training? Did you feel like that training translated well to householder life? Like, so any things that you learned there helped or not at all?
I mean, yes, in terms of spiritual strength that you get from ashram life cannot be. It's vital for most people to become good devotees. And people who haven't lived in the ashram, they're not spiritually talented in terms of being able to be preachers and do Harinam and book distribution and all that, you see. So that's no comparison. But for the transition from one to the other, from one ashram to the other, there's no real training, or nobody comes and tells you how hard it's going to be.
Yeah.
You're just like, from one day to the next, you put that white cloth on from saffron, it's like you're on your own.
Yeah.
The sooner you realize that, the better. Unless you have some special arrangement where you're going to be like a Grahasta Brahmachari, where you're going to stay very tight with the temple and they're going to give you, that's excellent if you can do that. I know some devotees who've done that, even at the manor. They came out of Grahasta life and then they got some employment with the temple, which was their service, employment, maintenance. And that's ideal. But if you haven't got that situation, then you really got to focus on your own life very fast and not depend on this imaginary help that you won't get from the society. Really, you got to find friends, you got to find help from older devotees who've been through it. I mean, it may be changing and getting better for your generation, and I hope it is. But my generation, it's still a big change. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're kind of just thrown in the deep end.
Thrown in the deep end.
Yeah.
I came out. I was in anyway. I mean,
go on.
I was in a children's home. I was in a squat. Then I was in college, and then I was in the ashram. You know, so I never really understood how the world works. You pay rent, and you've got to buy food, and I mean, it's so simple, but you know, how to make money. That's the real thing. You need a lot of money. Benefits. What a miserable life. So yeah, I didn't learn what I needed for Grahasta life. No. That education I didn't get. I should have got it from my parents, but I was brought up by my mother and she wasn't very worldly. I had no father, so I mean that might have helped.
So I guess the process of actually trying to forge your way in the world, because I'm personally experiencing this now, it feels like Krishna is kind of teaching you bits here and there through different conversations that you have with people, and you can kind of sense that you're getting guided in a way that you wouldn't before Krishna consciousness, before ashram life. You wouldn't have been able to perceive that hand of Krishna in there, you know.
Yeah, Krishna's super soul. He's guiding everyone, but the devotee is aware of it. Everyone's getting guided. Karanam Guna Sangasha. He's Yantra Rudani Maya, right? Brahmayan Sarvabhutanam, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam, Brahmayan, Yantra Rudani Maya. So Riddhi Savasya. He's guiding every single person. But the devotee is aware of it. That Krishna's guiding me. But everyone's getting guided, actually.
It's true. It's quite nice to know that you're being guided.
Guided and guarded.
And guided, yeah. That's it. The item of surrender. That Krishna is your ultimate guardian. So if you're constantly just looking for help from your guardian, of course he's going to reciprocate with that.
Samaham Savabhuteshu, na dveshisti na priyaha, ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya, nam mam tu teshi chapyaham. I'm equal to everyone. I envy no one, and I don't particularly like anyone. But to my devotee who renders service to me, they're in me and I'm in them. Very simple. So this knowledge, this realization, this experience is due to all the devotional service that you've rendered Krishna. And this is the magic of Krishna consciousness. So simple. You render service to Krishna, he will make you aware of reality and how he's the guide, inner guide of all beings, and he's helping you, protecting you. So simple.
I wonder, like, so say you take care of your material duty, you're earning enough money, you're supporting your family, so your material duty is ticked. But up until that point, that's what every sort of materialistic person is doing anyway. So how can you push it from, okay, I'm doing my material duty, to now I'm spiritualizing it? Is it the case that you have to earn double and give half to the temple, or yeah, how do you actually make spiritual advancement beyond just doing a duty?
Well, like we said, the main duty is to hear and chant. This is your main service. If you've got extra energy, extra funds, extra ability, extra resources, extra energy in general to offer service, then that's another thing. Then you should do it. You shouldn't be lazy. You should push yourself. Okay, like I want Saturday and Sunday off, but no, I'll go in Harinam on Saturday, or I'll commit to it. And once a week is a big commitment. It's a big thing once a week. We take it on once a week, but it's a lot when you've got so many other duties. So if you can do some commitment, right, this day is for Krishna. This day is for the external mission of Krishna, Krishna's mission, the local temple's mission, or wherever you are, the group, Sangha, to go out and do something, food for life, or some book distribution, or some go to the temple and clean or wash the pots or cook, anything. If you commit one day a week or something, then that's very good. And that really has a lot of power when you do it over a long time. So that's good.
I also heard, like, with Vaisheshika Prabhu, when he had a business, and then on his lunch break he'd go out on Sankirtan for an hour and just completely clean up, like he'd earn more than he would in his business. Yeah. So also the idea of doing a little but often, like fill the gaps. Just take some books and just do some books in the gap. It's possible, isn't it? Like,
it's possible. And reading in the gaps.
Oh yeah.
Studying.
Learning verses seems to be a big one too.
Learning verses. Have all the books on your phone and study. Fill in the gaps. Yeah.
So I guess it's a case of always looking to like do your duty, and then looking for the Krishna conscious, how to actually increase and do more service. And
this is the way to fight to keep Maya away. Always push a little bit.
Like it is an interesting balance to get right, isn't it?
It's a balance. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. One who is balanced in his recreation, work, eating and sleeping.
Can mitigate the pangs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, I feel a little bit more enlightened on the duty subject. Do you have any other things?
Yeah, so you said that when one does their material duty, they're elevated. That's kind of an interesting thing.
Oh yeah, this is in the third chapter. I think I said it before we recorded, but
I mean, I think that that takes a statement needs qualifying, but even in the most mundane sense, if someone does their material duty, there's a slight elevation, isn't there? I mean, because neglection of duty is ignorance, and higher than ignorance is passion. So doing your duty is kind of passionate, can be passionate, and depends how much wisdom or renunciation or charity or goodness you have in your life, then that passion may touch goodness sometimes. And if you stick to that, then there may be some elevation the next life, very gradual. And then if you go to spiritual life, like the Brahmavadis, Krishna says, Mahatmanas, Mahatma Sadulabha, they're very rare, Vasudeva Savamiti, after hundreds of lifetimes. If they do impersonal yogic disciplines, spiritual knowledge, meditation, eventually they get to Krishna. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is Dharma Sunusita Pungsang, that if you do all your duties perfectly, but you don't awaken attraction to Krishna, then it's waste of time. So from the Bhagavatam's the highest. It wants you to become attracted to Krishna. So your real duty is to become attracted to Krishna by hearing and chanting, reading Bhagavatam and chanting Hare Krishna. And that's what the highest thing is. But even the lowest duty, mode of passion, is better than mode of ignorance. So if someone neglects their duty, even just a pure materialist, they neglect their duty, they don't do their duty, look after for the family, the children, or the society, then they really degrade themselves. And you see that these people in the street begging, a lot of them, they're drug problem. They've let themselves go. They've let their senses go, and they've become like street beggars.
Yeah, I was reading this spiritual culture book from Devaki, and she was citing loads of statistics about how single men are the biggest criminals, rapers, everything. And it's they haven't got a strong duty. Whereas, like, as soon as they get married and they have a family and they start working for their family, then they become elevated materially. Like they become stable, and so you can see it quite how it's connected,
Yeah, duty. So duty is good. Duty gets you out of the mode of ignorance to higher to the mode of passion, and then that's the amazing thing, is that when you have children, suddenly you become more aware of good and bad, and you want the children to have goodness, and it's a whole thing. It's like family life was made to make the world more stable and better. Funny enough, it's very but for devotees, we've got to go higher and do the material duty as well. So it's a real tough.
I like how you mentioned how the Bhagavatam is offering that highest thing, and one thing that we can do is keep coming back to the Bhagavatam, because Bhagavatam is like a torch, like it illuminates your position. So if you are slipping off into the sort of material energy a bit too much, you can almost guarantee that the Bhagavatam or Prabhupada is going to say something that's going to kind of jolt you. So it's like I think if we just keep coming back to the Bhagavatam and just trying to almost like pray to it, like just keep me illuminated, keep me.
I mean, like a lot of devotees, they go through a stage of struggling, not reading very much, and when they hit the Grihastha ashram, a lot of things, they go through a lot of difficulties. So, but if you can stay on the clear path, that's the best. But at least come back to it as soon as you can. And the clear path is that you're reading your way back to Godhead. You got to read these books and get into it and try to relish them, enjoy them, research them, challenge your intelligence, cross-reference, study aspects. There's an ocean of nectar, actually. So if we dutifully read and keep that going, then that will develop into taste.
Exactly. And then if that's your hobby, if your hobby is, if you've got a taste for reading and hearing, you're going to stay inoculated naturally, isn't it? Like,
yeah, but that's quite rare.
Some devotees are like that here in this.
Yeah, I hope Keep it up. Got to keep it up. Good luck.
Yeah.
But there's no end to Krishna consciousness once you started. You can try and get away, or you can neglect it. You'll end up coming back anyway. So don't even bother giving up. It's a waste of time. It's a long way back to pure devotional service, but it's guaranteed if you just carry on, do your sadharma, parodharma, your dharma duty. So many beautiful verses about duty.
I know that Prabhupada says that the main duty is sarva dharma prityaja mamakam sharanam vraja. So abandon everything and surrender to Krishna. That's the real duty, is to surrender. And like we just said a few times, surrender means accepting Krishna as your guardian. Surrender means looking for Krishna everywhere. Surrender means chanting, like doing what you're told, like reading the books, and you know what I mean? Trying to surrender. That's our real duty, is to be surrenderers, like give up little bits. When we could just chill out, like what you said, you could chill out on a Saturday, but surrender, go on Sankirtan, bang a drum a little bit.
Yeah, you get the benefit. You get much more benefit. You get so much benefit.
Jai.
Okay.
That's good. I think that's a good length podcast.
Yeah, it's a long one, 36 minutes. Oh my God.
Okay, cool.
Great. So I'll give you a quick call in a second.
Yeah, sure.
I do something.
We could do it now.
All right. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Jagannath. Gauranga.
Right.